What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for an international roundup. As you know, Euro 2024 and the Copa are going on at the moment. We have reached the conclusion of the groups in the Euros, so we thought it was what better time than to give you an international roundup and see how Spurs players are doing out for their respective countries. There's been some players that are really performing at the top of their game out there at the Euros. We'll touch on the players at the Copa that are going through the second round of group phase games at the moment. But let's start off with, in my opinion, well, one of the definitely the better players that Spurs have performing out in the Euros, which is Radu Dragusin from Romania. We know Romania topped their group, which was quite unbelievable for them. But let's go and have a look at how Radu Dragusin is performing. He's played 3 games, 90 minutes. And obviously the first game was brilliant from him, wasn't it? It had everyone talking about him. 3-0 win against Ukraine, which really set Romania on their way. If we go in and have a look at his individual stats from this game, you can just see what an aggressive defender he was on the day. Playing 90 minutes, 10 clearances, 2 block shots, 1 interception, 33 touches on the day, 1 out of 1 ground duel, 2 out of 2 aerial duels. So a very dominant performance from Radu Dragusin in that game. I mean, we were doing a watch along for it and we were both blown away about how good he was.
He was monstrous. He was so commanding, and it was like a one-man wall at times with Dragusin just stopping everything that came his way. Absolutely brilliant. And his performances at the Euros have struck an interesting conversation among Spurs fans because he's performing so well at the moment. And even I've seen so far a few team in the tournament so far, and he's in quite a few of them. I've seen from not just Tottenham fans, from a lot of various people. And I'm seeing a lot of Tottenham fans saying, with what they're seeing from Radu at the moment, Tottenham have to move to a back three next season with how he's performing. Do we have to find a way of fitting him in? Because if that's the level of performance that we should be expect from Radu, is he too good to leave out? That is a big question mark among Spurs fans at the moment, because he's performing brilliantly for Romania and obviously one of the underdogs in the tournament, and he's been one of the shining lights as defenders go.
Because if they're top of the group, then they should get maybe a more favourable fixture. Who have they got? Netherlands. Wow, that's a very tough fixture.
Versus Dragushin.
Very tough fixture for them. So we'll have to wait and see how they get on in the next round. But let's talk about Pierre-Emile Højbjerg now, another player who's played every minute so far for his country. 3 draws for Denmark, so maybe not what they would have hoped, but I think he got 1 man of the match display against England in the second game. His stats from the game against England, because he was absolutely astonishing in this game, and that there you see even deeper reds on his heat map here. He was all over the park. He showed up the England midfielders pretty much for the majority of the game. I thought he was scintillating, got the man of the match award, and quite rightly so. 108 touches during the game, 0.12 expected goals, 0.06 expected assists, 3 out of his 5 long balls accurate, 4 shots on target in the game, 1 off target, 2 dribble attempts, 0 was completed. 7 out of his 15 ground duels were successful. 2 out of his 2 aerial duels were successful. 13 times possession lost. 2 fouls. 1 time was fouled. 2 clearances. 3 interceptions. 6 tackles. But he was dribbled past 3 times. But an exceptional performance this was from Pierre-Emile Højbjerg.
It was an all-action display, and it's no surprise as well that Declan Rice's worst game was in this game as well, where he was literally continually harried and hassled by Højbjerg and Hillman, especially Højbjerg, though. He was getting in their faces, and not only that, when he got into the final third, he wasn't scared to take a shot. He forced Pickford into a few saves, and he literally covered every blade of grass. He was absolutely imperious in that middle of the park. They just couldn't handle Højbjerg, and he was a big reason why England struggled big time in that game.
Yeah, and I felt early on especially he was so aggressive up against the likes of like Jude Bellingham, and most of the England midfielders couldn't really handle him. That was the honest truth. So it was Denmark. I would say Denmark probably deserved all 3 points on the day.
Probably, yeah, they were the better team, and Højbjerg was their best player.
Let's look at Mickey van der Ven. Hasn't had that many minutes, has taken part in 2 games so far for the Netherlands, and just limited to a few minutes at the end, really. First game and the second game.
Left back as well.
Yeah, so the first game against Poland, he came on to see out the game. I think it was actually, was it 1-1 when he came on as well? So maybe he had his part in in grabbing the win, but not much in it. He came on 87th minute to go, quite a few minutes of stoppage time there, 1 clearance, 3. He only got his 3 touches, and apart from that, no real stat. In the last game against Austria, he was dribbled past once, 32 touches in those 25 minutes, 0 out of 2 long balls accurate, 2 ground duels out of his 4, 0 aerial duels out of his 7, lost possession 7 times, was fouled once, and he attempted 2 dribbles, and 1 of them was successful. So not the greatest stats from Mickey, but I did feel like when he did get on the ball, he did look dangerous.
Yeah, and they struck there. I felt like when he was getting down that side, he put in some decent deliveries as well when he got the opportunity to, but unfortunately, Netherlands succumbed to a defeat. It didn't affect them. They still finished third and got through, but wasn't the best display overall from the Netherlands.
Yeah. Let's move on to Vicario. Obviously, he hasn't played any minutes because he is Italy's backup keeper. Italy have gone through, obviously, with a 2-1 win against Albania, 1-0 loss against Spain, and a 1-1 draw with Croatia in the last game. But let's go and focus on the Copaamerica now, and let's look at Cuti Romero, because he's as well one of another Tottenham player that's got a man of the match display in their international tournaments. He's played 2 games so far in the Copa, 2-0 win against Canada. Let's go and have a look at his stats and his heat map. So look at this heat map from Cuti Romero. Just classic Cuti, isn't it? Look at that deep red all the way up till the halfway line, and even advancing onto the other half as well. 3 clearances, 2 interceptions, 6 tackles, 109 touches, 91 out of his 93 passes were accurate. 6 out of his 7 long balls were accurate. 6 out of his 6 ground duels were won. 0 out of 2 aerial duels won. 2 times possession lost. And that is a mammoth display from Cuti Romero.
He was phenomenal. I was watching parts of this game all those early hours of the morning, and he was just so good, Romero. Honestly, on the ball, as good as you like. I think they've played 2 games, haven't they? They haven't conceded a goal yet, and he's just been phenomenal and carrying on his incredible form for Argentina off the back of that World Cup win.
Yeah. On SofaScore, he's actually the highest rated player on the Argentina team under Lionel Messi. Messi got 8.5, and Romero and McAllister got tied in second on 7.7. So that tells you where they rate him.
Yeah, and there's some individual highlights going around of him, compilation of his 2 performances at the tournament so far, and I think they're well worth a look because he's been absolutely brilliant. And, you know, he's just one of those defenders who is exciting to watch. It's very rare for a defender to be like that, and Romero definitely fits that category.
Moving on to Giovanni Lo Celso, he came on in both games, so it's just a substitute in both games. This is his heat map in the first game where he got, 20 minutes or 25 minutes in the game. There you go, 22 minutes, 0.05 expected goals, 18 touches, 10 out of 11 passes accurate, 0 crosses and 0 long balls accurate, 1 shot blocked, 1 out of 1 dribble attempted and being successful, 3 ground duels out of 5, 4 times possession lost, 1 time fouled, 1 fouls as well, and he did 1 tackle. So not really much to read in Giovanni Lo Celso's first cameo. Big chance missed for Gio, but at least he got in and amongst it in this one.
Yeah, obviously I didn't see it, so I can't really say how big that chance was, but all I can say is I know Lo Celso in previous tournaments has been quite a big player for them. I know he missed the World Cup, but in the Copa he was quite a big player for them. But obviously with McAllister now established, DePaul obviously a big player, Enzo now starting, it's hard for him to get into the team, but we'll see later in the tournament whether he does get any starts or not, because I think he's very, very trusted by the Argentinian national team and Scaloni as well.
And last but not least, we're going to look at Rodrigo Bentancur, who was on the bench for Uruguay's first game. I think they are playing tonight, tomorrow morning at 2 a.m. English time. But he was out of favour to the likes of Federico Valverde and Manuel Ugarte. And he came on for the last 5 minutes, and this is what he did. There was 5 minutes added on, so he did get a total of 10 minutes, 0.03 expected goals, 7 touches, 4 out of 5 accurate passes, didn't win his ground duel, 1 contested, possession lost 1 foul, 1 clearance, 1 interception. So again, not really much to read out of that.
Yeah, but it'd be disappointing for Bentancur, because you go back to the World Cup, I thought he was brilliant for Uruguay at that World Cup, and he really took that Tottenham form into the national stage, and I thought he was one of the best midfielders that World Cup before they went out. I really thought he was sensational. I remember that one game against Portugal, he did so well. So obviously after that injury, to now find himself, he's recovered from it, but he now finds himself out of the team. Must be a bit frustrating for him, but hopefully he gets some meaningful game time, because we know Bielsa really likes him. He said he's one of the few midfielders who gives you brilliant on the ball and off the ball ability, and he really rates him. So hopefully he can find his way back in the team, but it must be hard for him at the moment.
Yeah, when you're looking at that double pivot of Valverde and Ugarte, I mean, it's going to be very hard to break into that midfield. Two top quality midfielders, but Bentancur, obviously in his own right, is a top quality midfielder as well. So I back him to do it. I think he'll get game time from now until the end of the tournament. And Uruguay are one of the favourites to go all the way this year, and definitely, I would say a dark horse, because, you know, the likes of Argentina and Brazil are always going to be the two favourites going into it. So I would say Uruguay have a very good shout of going all the way. So that is your international roundup. Let me know in the comment section below your thoughts regarding all the Spurs international players at the Copa and at the Euros. But thank you everyone for joining us today. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always, come on you Spurs.